Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole bunch of sources, sometimes pretty complex ones, and we boil them down. We want to give you the key insights, really a shortcut to, well, getting properly informed on something important. Today we're diving into a really tough real-world situation. It mixes up personal feelings like betrayal, some pretty complex legal questions. Just picture this for a second. You raise a child for years, right? Love them like they're your own, and then, bam, you find out they're not biologically yours. What actually happens then? Legally, personally.
Yeah, that's exactly the heart of what we're looking at today. Our main source is an excerpt from a Korean article. It's called Paternity Lawsuit, The Dilemma of Betrayal and Child Rearing. It really zeroes in on this one case, a paternity dispute, yeah, but specifically the child support angle. It opens up this whole tangled web of legal, emotional, and frankly, moral issues.
It sounds incredibly compelling. So tell us about the specific case. We've got a husband, raised a son for, what, 7 years within the marriage, and then the shocker comes out during divorce proceedings, the DNA test. It reveals, well, the devastating truth.
Hmm.
The child isn't his biological son.
Right. And his first reaction, completely understandable, is just, no way, I'm not paying child support.
You can absolutely see why he'd feel that way, just pure gut reaction.
Yeah.
But there's a twist, isn't there? Something about the law.
Exactly, because while you get the emotional response, the wife actually has a specific legal point. She basically says, look, legally, he is your child. And she's not just saying that emotionally. It ties into this legal presumption in Korean civil law. It's fundamental. The law basically states that a child born during a marriage is, well, presumed to be the husband's kid, full stop, unless proven otherwise through a specific process.
Wow, okay. So the law kind of default to him being the father regardless of biology. It's just go with the marriage itself.
Sort of, yeah. It prioritizes the family unit that existed during the marriage, at least as the starting point. It feels like a very conscious decision in the legal system.
Okay, so given that presumption, how hard is it then for the husband, even with DNA proof, to say, nope, not legally my kid anymore?
That's the real insight here. That's the key takeaway from the source. Having the DNA test, even if it's 100% clear, isn't enough on its own to just, walk away from legal responsibility. You have to actually do something specific legally. You need to file what's called a paternity non-existence confirmation lawsuit.
A paternity non-existence confirmation lawsuit.
Oh.
Okay, that sounds very specific.
It is, and it's not just paperwork. The source highlights that there are often strict deadlines. Like you might only have a year or two from when you found out he wasn't the biological father to file this lawsuit. And the court looks at things too, like did you know before? Or maybe should you have known? Or even if your actions, showed you accepted the child as yours all along, that can really complicate things, especially regarding child support.
So, that lawsuit is the official way to challenge the initial presumption, to get a court to formally say, okay, legally, you are not the father.
Precisely. It's the mechanism to counter that automatic assumption.
It really sounds like the law is trying hard to protect the child's stability, almost buffering them from the biological shockwave, in a way.
That seems to be a major factor, yes. It makes that question, who's responsible, way more complicated than just looking at a DNA report.
Yeah, it really challenges your assumptions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How law and, well, messy real life collide.
Totally. And here's another layer the source points out. Even if the man wins that lawsuit, proves he's not the biological father legally, there can still be situations where she might have to pay child support.
Wait, really? Even after proving he's not the biological dad and winning the specific lawsuit?
It often boils down to how the court sees the de facto relationship, like the actual reality of their connection. Did he act like a parent for those 7 years? Was there a real emotional bond? Did he support the child? That established relationship, that history, can sometimes still carry legal weight, even against the biological facts.
So it's not just about biology, but about the role you played, the responsibility you took on under the eyes of the law, even if based on a false premise initially.
Exactly. It moves beyond just blood ties.
That adds a whole other dimension. This deep dive really pushes you to think about what family and parent even mean, doesn't it? Beyond the biological definition.
Absolutely. This specific case forces us to ask those big questions. What really defines parenthood? What defines responsibility? Is it just the biological link? Or is it the act of raising, of caring? Or is it simply what the legal framework says? When you think about it, what stands out to you as the most compelling argument in a situation like this? One that's so personal, so emotional, but also so tied up in legal rules.
That's a really thought-provoking question to leave things on. A lot to mull over there. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Keep exploring those complex topics.